All right. Um, let's go ahead and get started as people start to trickle in. It's 11:02.
Right.
Um, Hi everyone. My name is Jackie Yip, and I am the communications lead for the San Francisco chapter of CAAN. We have a packed agenda today, so before we jump right in, just want to go over a few housekeeping items. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the chat or raise your hand and use emojis to react in real time. And then we'll also be sending out links in the chat as we go through this presentation, so please keep an eye out for that. Now, without further ado, I'm super excited to introduce Lorraine Lee. Lorraine is a global keynote speaker and instructor for Stanford Continuing Studies and LinkedIn Learning. She works with Fortune 100 organizations, global teams, and individuals to teach them how to supercharge their professional presence. She is recognized as LinkedIn's top voice, which is awarded to the top 1% of LinkedIn's 1 billion users, and she has more than 300,000 LinkedIn followers and 10 years of experience leading editorial teams at top tech firms. Lorraine was a founding editor at companies including Prezi, SlideShare, and LinkedIn, and has been featured in a number of publications, including ReadWrite and Entrepreneur. Lorraine, I'll kick it off to you.
Great. Thank you, Jackie. And hello, everyone. It is so good to see the familiar faces from our last hybrid session on building a LinkedIn presence, and welcome to any of the new faces in the audience. So today is going to be a continuation of our last session where we are going to dive a little bit deeper into features and analytics on LinkedIn to help you better understand whether you're growing, whether you're seeing the results that you want to, and then also to make sure that you are building that LinkedIn presence that we talked about last time. And just a quick refresher in case for those who are here, and then for the new people, presence, the way I define it is both how and where others see you. So the how is, of course, very, very important, but it doesn't matter so much if you don't have the where and if you're not being seen in the right places. So that's why LinkedIn is a critical piece to your overall professional presence. So I'm going to start off with a question for all of you. For those who went to the last session, I'm curious to know if you made any changes to your LinkedIn profile since then. And for those who are tuning in for the first time, would love to know what you want to learn today. What are you hoping to take away? Do you have any specific goals for this session? So for those, again, who were at the hybrid session, what change did you make, if any? Hopefully you saw some results, but what changes did you make? And then for our new folks, what do you hope to learn in today's session? So let me know in the chat. Stella updated your profile picture with a Duchenne smile. Nice. And good memory, remembering what it's called. Cassini, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, wants to learn how to leverage content from other platforms and publications, repost or not. We can definitely talk about that.
Thank you. It's Cassini, like casino with an E.
Oh, okay. Cassini, did I say that right?
Thank you. Yes.
Cassini. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Cassini. Oh, hi, Raquel. How to leverage LinkedIn data insights to stand out on LinkedIn. Perfect. We are definitely touching on that. Nisha once started with a repost. Yay, that's a great first step. Richard followed me. Thank you for that. Okay, awesome. So like looks like overall just profile improvements, skills. Amazing. Okay, well, thank you all for sharing. So today we're going to spend about 30 minutes going over these three categories. So our profiles, content, and connecting. So it's pretty similar of a structure to the last session, but again, this session is going to be a little bit more of a how-to, a little bit more step-by-step than the last one. And we're going to build on those foundational pieces that we talked about already. Then we're going to save about 25 minutes at the end for Q&A. I know you all have a lot of really great questions based on the feedback survey that I sent afterwards. So I want to make sure that we get to those and answer any new ones that come up today. So drop your questions in the chat. Jackie will collect them and then we'll make sure to answer those at the end. All right, so just like last time, we are going to have an interactive workbook. So you can scan your QR code here. Jackie will also send the links in the chat. And throughout the session, if you see this pencil, that essentially means get out your workbook. So that's just a visual signal for you. And then Same as last time, feel free to take screenshots during this session. It's great fodder for for a LinkedIn post if you're thinking or wondering what you should be posting. So encourage you all to take screenshots throughout for whatever resonates with you and whatever you might want to share on LinkedIn. And of course, tag me, you tag Jackie, Cisco, etc. And I will make sure to comment and give you a like. All right. So can I get a thumbs up in the chat? Give me a yes, give me an I'm ready, something positive if all of this sounds good to you and you're ready to get going.
Thumbs up.
Thank you. Diraj with the heart. Is there anyone else having trouble making a copy for the workbook? Maybe you can copy and paste the content if you're having some trouble, or Jackie maybe can send a version. All right. Thank you, Brian, for that. All right, looks like we're good to go. Okay, so diving into our profiles. We're going to talk about public profiles. We're going to talk about who's viewed your profile and what that feature means. We're going to talk about search appearances, CTAs, and our about sections. So the other week, I spoke to someone about LinkedIn, and she had a really limited view on how she uses the platform. She told me she restricts comments on posts to only people she knows. She only accepts people she has met before when they send connection requests, and she keeps her profile relatively private. And to me, that was such a big missed opportunity. And this is because we want to eliminate any barriers of people getting to know us on LinkedIn. We want to eliminate any barriers when it comes to following our work and, maybe at some point hiring us down the line. So when you make your profile private or only partially public, you're putting up a wall, right? So you're making it harder for people to learn more about you and decide if you are someone they want to connect with, hire, interview, whatever their goal is. So I want to make sure that you're not one of those people putting up the wall. So let's jump into our settings together. So you can all open up your LinkedIn with me, and we're going to walk through this together. So here's how we make sure our settings are correct. So you're going to go into your settings. You're going to click visibility. And then you're going to edit your public profile. So give everyone a second to find their settings. If you click your profile picture at the top, the settings will be a drop down there. And once you have that sorted, you're going to see this toggle here. Oh, someone just say something?
Yeah, the screen is so small. Is that for me or just for everybody?
On your views, if you're in a room or WebEx, just tap your controller, hit layout, and say focus as the view.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. I think that was Maria who said that. Thank you, Maria. So you're going to want to turn the toggle on and then make sure down here that you have selected public. Now, when you do this, you will see another benefit beyond just bringing down that wall, right? So our LinkedIn profiles show up in Google search results. So I want to make sure that if someone is looking for whatever you can offer based on your new and improved headlines from last session, for example, they can easily learn more about you and reach you, right? So public makes it, again, drops down the wall and then also helps you appear or helps you with search results and making sure that people can learn more about you when you do pop up there.
The apologies. I couldn't get to this one. Can you get back a little bit? Where do you see the toggles here? Sorry.
Yeah, so, okay, so it's here under visibility and edit your public profile.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and this is being recorded, so we're gonna have to, keep moving to
okay.
make sure we cover everything. No problem. Just drop it in the chat, and if you miss something, and we can go back during the Q&A session. And just want to make sure we get through all the content since there's a lot. All right, so you have your toggles on here. So next, after this is all set up, I want to talk about another important profile feature on LinkedIn, which is who's viewed my profile. And I think this is actually a question that came from May specifically. But last session, we talked about the importance of our headlines and content. So one of the ways that you're going to know if the changes that you have made and the posts that you're making are making an impact is based on the number of profile views you get. So some of you mentioned you updated your headline. So this is going to be a really great way to understand if those changes are resonating with people. So you will find this section on the left hand of your feed. Now, think about your own experience. Like if I see someone posting interesting content on LinkedIn, or if I'm looking for a specific type of person or role, I will often click through to their profile to learn more about them. I'm like, who's this person, posting great stuff? Like, what's their story, right? So this is a really great metric to track and keep an eye on. So we're going to turn to our workbooks now. I want you all to find your number, currently what it is in terms of profile views, add it into the workbook so you have a baseline. And then as you start updating things and updating your headline and posting more content, you can check back to that section and see if your profile views have increased. So you'll see that in your workbook, and just give me a thumbs up. Thanks, Jelena. Hi, good to see you. So once you've done that, just give me a thumbs up in the chat and we will keep on moving.
Is there a default, like mine says per 30 days profile views?
Yeah, I think 30 days is a good benchmark because you just made the changes. So give it 30 days to kind of take effect. All right, Lisa, thanks for the thumbs up.
Got a ton of thumbs up.
Oh, great. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm only looking in the chat, so I didn't see like off to the side
Oh.
because I moved my screen over. Okay, thank you, Jackie. All right, amazing. Okay, so once we've clicked this section here for who's viewed your profile, all right, we can see it right here. One thing I encourage you all to do is play around with the filters at the top. So in particular, the interesting viewers section or dropdown is, interesting for lack of a better word. So there's a lot of cool filters here, so you can kind of get a better sense in terms of who's looking at your profile, the type of characteristics and background that they have. So note that if you do want to see a list of viewers, your trends and insights for the past 365 days, you will need a premium account. So Lisa, you should still be able to see for I think the past 30 days. You won't have the full year. I don't really know if you need the full year, honestly, like if you're making changes, in real time and kind of trying to assess what's resonating with people. I think past 30 days is just fine. Okay, past 90 days, amazing, thank you. All right, now one more thing. So we talked about public profiles earlier, right? So when you keep your settings open like this, the good thing is when people view your profile, you are going to be able to see information about them if their profiles are also public, right? So if you stay private, you don't get the benefit to see who looked at your profile. So being more open in that way also allows you to see more information about the people who are viewing you as well. Now, the last analytics piece I want to touch on from our profiles is search appearances. So we just went through profile views, but search appearances will be another indicator that your headline and about section are working really well for you. And of course, if the number is higher, it means you have good SEO juice within LinkedIn, you're using the right keywords. So think of it as, Google search for your profile, essentially. So you're going to see it here. If you are on your profile and you just scroll down, you're going to see this little analytics section. Then you're going to click it, and then you'll see what sorts of keywords you're appearing for in search results. So hopefully they're the ones that you want to be searched for. If not, it's still worth, experimenting and playing around with the keywords to make sure that you're choosing the relevant ones, based on your goals. When you click that, you will also see companies that those searchers work at, as well as their job titles. So I have 2 questions for you in your workbook, or you can also just feel free to drop it into the chat if you feel comfortable. So one thing, would like you to jot down the search appearances that you appeared in this past week. And then if you feel comfortable in the chat, please share a title or a keyword or a company that is in your top 1 or 2. So after I spoke to you all the other week, Cisco was one of my top companies in terms of people searching for me. So that checks out, but I know you're not all speaking, so it'd be interesting to hear, who's appearing or who is appearing in your search results. Okay, Lisa, 27, 191. Nice, Manjula. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, but correct me if I'm wrong. 37.5%. Okay, very strong in the IT system administrator field. Okay, great. So you all have your baselines here. Product engineer. Excellent. Are you seeing any interesting companies or titles popping up as well for you? Jason, salesperson, 25.1%. Cisco, nice. Yeah, when I worked at LinkedIn, it was, often LinkedIn was my top. Interesting. Okay, corporate board member. Nice. Pfizer, my history as a veterinarian still haunts me. Well, San Diego Zoo Wildlife Alliance. Okay. Lena, I wonder if you're posting things that resonate with that audience. Okay, amazing. We got like a big range here. All right, but so, this will change, again, like depending on what you're doing and the keywords and all of that, but it's just nice to kind of take a deep dive right now and see, okay, what's it currently at? And as I change and fix things, like what will appear later. All right, so next thing I want to talk about as it pertains to our profiles is our CTAs. So heads up, this is a premium feature, and I'll be sharing a few of those throughout the session, just so you can assess if it makes sense for you. I do not think you need premium, but there are some nice features, like ones that I personally use, and so I'm going to highlight the ones that I think have been most valuable for me, and then you can decide if it makes sense for you, depending on your goals. So one in particular that I like is being able to add a CTA. So you see it here. There's two different types that you can add. So one, this is mine, free career tips in under 3 minutes. This is for my weekly newsletter. This is the main place that I want people to go when they view my profile. So having a hyperlink beneath your name, that's one option. Another option, this is my friend Jean's profile. You can have a button instead. Visit my website, for example. Visit my portfolio, maybe. They are coming out this month with more customizable button text, which is great. Right now it's pretty generic. So that's just something to be aware of if you have a specific call to action that you want people to be aware of. And Emily, sorry, call to action is CTA. Yes, thank you, Jackie. Now where you will find it is when you edit your profile, you will go to the custom button section and you will see an option to add a link, that's what I chose for my newsletter. And premium custom button will be the visit my website button that you saw on Jean's profile. So this is just something to be aware of. If there's a specific goal you have in mind, you're trying to drive traffic to something in particular, the CTA can be a nice option for you. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about is the about section. So this section is going to be even more important than it used to be. So literally starting this month, so just a few days ago, and I think they're trickling it out right now, but the about section is going to move higher up on your profile instead of about halfway down, which is where it's at now. So similar to our profile pictures and our background photos, which we talked about last time, this is another very, very high visibility feature. So I want to make sure that you are all leveraging this effectively. So this is the place where it's going to show the more qualitative human side of you. So I do not want this to be a regurgitation of your resume. I don't want it to be just about accomplishments and credentials, because people get excited about stories and not facts, right? So we connect with people through emotion. So as best as you can, try to tell a little bit more of a story through this. So it's like similar to what we talked about last session with the hook when it comes to our content. We also want a hook for our about section too, because at the top, this section gets cut off. So you only see about 2 to 3 sentences to start. So you need to make sure that these are really popping because we want people to click that see more button. So how do we make a compelling about? So some questions that you might ask yourself could be, how did I end up in this industry? Maybe you have an unusual story or unusual path. What gets me out of bed every morning? Or what do I love most about my profession? So I'll share an example. I was working with a client and his initial about was about how he had worked in sales for 25 years. So we talked through his story. I was trying to learn more, like how did he get into sales? And he came up with this really interesting anecdote and story for me. So instead of saying, I'm a senior leader with 25 years in sales, we changed it to, My 25 plus years long career in sales began in a Toastmasters class. So it's a lot more engaging as a story. You're like, oh, I want to learn a little bit more. So that's just an example of how you can kind of transform and shift. Now, the About section, we have 2,600 characters here. Ideally, you're going to use up all of that space, just like the headline, right? We talked about last time, 220 characters. So the About section also contributes to SEO. You want to include keywords, important keywords in the About section, and it'll help you also improve those search appearances as well. So I'd like you to turn to your workbooks. Please put in your before. So what do you currently have in your About section? And then we're going to brainstorm what a new introduction sentence might look like. So I'm going to give everyone, let's say, 4 minutes to think of a new lead line into your About section. So I'm going to start the timer. And again, just like our headlines, just like everything else we talked about last time, nothing is final, all work in progress. You can iterate on this later, but this is just to get the juices flowing and to just think a little bit more about what you might change to make it a little bit more engaging.
Quick question from the chat.
Yes,
Someone
Jackie.
asked, could you please share again how to add the visit my website section to
Oh
the
yeah, sure. Yeah. So Cassie, so that's going to be a premium feature. So assuming you have premium, I can go back here. You're essentially going to click the pencil on the top of your edit my profile. Or excuse me, the pencil button on the profile at the top. You're going to click it, and then it's going to open up the edit my profile section, and then you're going to scroll down to the custom button section. Yeah, of course. Glad you're going to use that feature. What do you think you want to link to? Do you have an idea yet?
So I made my profile
Nice.
public. Still, I'm not able to see the people who viewed my profile in last 60 or 90 days. So is there any other setting that I need to update?
Say that again. Awesome. So you went to the section, but what are you seeing right now?
Like initially we discussed how to make profile public. So I did that. And after that, I was looking at the views, but still all of them are locked. I cannot see for last 60 or 90 days. I think that should be available.
Oh, I'm not
I think I
sure.
know
Oh.
I think I know what the problem is, but I don't know the solution. Can I quickly share? Maybe towards the end I can.
Yeah, maybe you can connect or chat separately, and Nisha, you can share in the chat too if you have an idea.
Yeah, in my profile.
Nisha, if we could just save the questions towards the end and then just get through this presentation first, I promise there will be a Q&A at the end.
Yes. I'm glad there's a lot of questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nael, for your questions as well. We will address, yes, we will address one in the presentation, then we can talk about the other one during Q&A. All right, so we have about 1 more minute left to redo that first line in our about sections. I think I hear, Nisha, I think you're not on mute. If you could mute again, that would be helpful. Thank you. All right, I'm actually going to cut this section just a little bit short just because I see so many questions coming in. So I want to leave more time at the end for Q&A. But hopefully that was a helpful exercise for you all. So we're going to move into our recap. So again, we talked about the importance of a public profile, talked about who's viewed your profile, we talked about search appearances, talked about CTAs, and then we just closed that with the about. Next, we're going to dive into content a little bit deeper. So in this section, we're going to talk about the LinkedIn algorithm. Niall, I think that will answer some of your questions. We're going to talk about a few best practices when it comes to posting content. We're going to talk about LinkedIn newsletters, content analytics, and this community top voices badge. So diving into the algorithm. So I wish there was a magic formula. People ask me about the algorithm all the time, and I'm going to tell you all a story about working with the engineers at LinkedIn. So I mentioned I was a founding editor at LinkedIn, and we would ask the engineers, like, can you tell us something about the algorithm? Are there specific things that we can do? And their answer was that it's an algorithm, and it changes and learns, and that's inherently what an algorithm is. So unfortunately, I can't say there's, hard and fast rules for how to beat the algorithm, so to speak. I really want you all to focus on quality content, but there are some new features that LinkedIn just announced that might be intriguing and helpful to you all as you start thinking through content. But first, I'm going to just send this past LinkedIn post I made that might be helpful to you all when it comes to the algorithm and just thinking about your LinkedIn content as a whole. So some new changes that were recently announced. The algorithm is focused on knowledge sharing over virality. So it's going to be harder to get those really viral posts. They really want people to be sharing knowledge instead of kind of maybe more like inspirational thoughts that can typically get that viral activity. Now, another update that's, I think, great news is your posts may be shown to members months and even years from now if someone shows that they're interested in a particular topic or part of a specific industry. So let's say one of you is sharing a lot of insights around data analytics, and there's a data expert who has shown through their interactions in the algorithm that they really like learning about data. Well, your post might be shown to them months or years down the line. So it's still giving your content new life versus you post it and it kind of disappears in the feed and no one ever sees it again. And the last thing is that they're adding more analytics to its newsletters feature. So we talked about newsletter as an option for content last session. So if that's something that's intriguing to you, you're going to have more analytics, which is super exciting. They're trying to compete with kind of the ConvertKits and Substacks of the world. So look out for that as they roll it out. So I think this is all very good news. If you want a little bit more data to work off of when it comes to, okay, what do I post about? When should I post? I think I mentioned this last time, but posting a poll is a really good idea. It's very simple. It's very easy for people to interact. So you might ask, how often or what time are you on LinkedIn? Do you prefer this type of content or that type of content, and people will vote, and then that will give you some data for your own specific audience to help inform when you post and what you post about. All right, so you can also ask, again, in the poll, so lots of different questions. You can also ask about content types, text, images, video, et cetera, as I mentioned. So here's just an example of a poll so you can see, and then when you see people vote, you can actually click the number here in terms of who voted, and you can see who voted for what. So I don't know how many people know about that, but you can kind of see, oh, this person in my network, I know them, they're interested in this. And if you know them well, like reach out and see if they're willing to share more information. So audience insights is always a helpful thing. And just general advice I like to share, and I just did this myself a few weeks ago, but it's just always good to experiment. So you don't have to have it be perfect right away. The past few weeks, I've actually been posting different times each week to see if I notice a difference. I haven't really, but at least I tried, right? So I haven't kind of experimented like that in a while. So now I know. If you're thinking about or wondering about the current trends that are out there right now, carousels I think are pretty popular, so just more visual posts. Cheat sheets have been growing in popularity on LinkedIn. You might be seeing more of those. And then images of the person if it's a more personal post. Try to avoid too many selfies. All right, now I want to talk about the LinkedIn News module, which is a key part of LinkedIn content and something you have probably all seen on LinkedIn in the top right of your feeds. So I'm curious, so in the chat, give me a smile if you have clicked through and read some of the stories here before. Give me a sad face if you haven't, and give me a surprise face if you're like, what the heck is that thing? I've never even noticed it. Okay, looks like we got a mix, mostly smiles and surprise faces, some sad faces. Okay, excellent. No worries at all, whatever your answer was. So this is the LinkedIn News module. So I actually got sent to Hong Kong for a year on assignment while working at LinkedIn. During my day, I would write up the stories and news, curate comments and posts, and then write these. And then you would all wake up, for whoever's in the US, and have this all the updated news for you. So that's the background of what this feature is. It's essentially the latest trending business news. And if you click inside it, you will see posts and comments from people who are commenting or adding their insights on that specific topic. So the editors at LinkedIn are always curating to fill in these stories to get insights from members. And so this is a really great way to try to get a little bit more visibility and gain some traction, some followers, if that's something that you're interested in. If your post gets chosen and it's written about something timely, this gets a lot of traffic. It's on the homepage, right? So you will likely see a spike in your follower count. Again, tons of traffic, and those followers stick with you, even after the story expires. So we talked a lot about commenting last time. So also adding a comment to one of the featured posts is a really great way to get that additional visibility while still not having to make your own posts. But as I said before, whatever it is, a post, a comment, you just always want to make sure that you're providing something of value in whatever you say, some sort of insight or personal experience or personal take. So we're going to do a quick, excuse me, I didn't have the pencil here. A quick workbook check-in. So I want you to open your workbooks and go to the LinkedIn News module right now. So go to linkedin.com and put in your workbook if you see a story currently on the homepage that you might have something to say about. And no worries if you don't, but it's just a good practice to check it out and see if one stands out to you. So you can add it in your workbook, or also I would love to see in the chat if any of you feel comfortable sharing which one you might want to contribute to. And if none of them make sense for you right now, that's no worries. These get updated constantly. I'm curious if any of you see one where you're like, oh, maybe I can add something of value to that conversation. So Cassini, this will be in the top right of your LinkedIn homepage. Bayang, thank you for sharing. Hopefully, again, if I'm mispronouncing anyone's name, just phonetically write it out to me in the chat. I want to make sure I get it right. But Bob Iger defends Disney strategy. Excellent. Lisa, US slashes credit card late fees. Nice. So Lena, so this is something that posts get curated and they get added into these news stories. So the LinkedIn editorial team is writing these stories, and then they're searching on LinkedIn for the insights from members to contribute their thoughts to that story. Yeah, oh my gosh, I love seeing all the diversity of expertise. Everyone's like kind of picking out different topics here. Yes, yeah, Lisa, yeah, excellent. I'm observing that as well. All right, perfect. Well, love this. Love seeing how everyone has such different areas of expertise and that you see something that might resonate with you. So last, I want to touch on LinkedIn newsletters because there are some new unique features to it that can help your content be seen by more people if you are concerned about your audience reach. So LinkedIn newsletters, and how are they different from posts? So the great thing about LinkedIn newsletters is that when you create your newsletter, it will send out a notification to all of your followers. It will do this once. And so, you want to make sure your profile, everything is good to go, because they're probably going to be like, oh, click through your profile. Oh, who's this person? Or, oh, I haven't talked to this person in a while. Let me check out what's going on. So when you create a new newsletter, it will send out a notification to everyone. That's your best time to grow your followers. And then as you post future editions of your newsletter, the really great thing, and this is what's different from posts, is automatically they will get a notification that you have published a new article. So it really helps with audience engagement, driving traffic, LinkedIn posts, you can choose whether you want to hear from someone, but when someone follows your newsletter, they definitely get notified each time. And it's not always the same with the LinkedIn post. So this is just something to keep in mind for any of you who have been thinking about newsletters. I just wanted to share this feature and why newsletters might be, something that you want to think about a little bit more if audience reach and kind of that consistency is important to you. All right. Now, how do I know if my content is resonating? So some of you have made posts on LinkedIn since the last session, which is super exciting. Now I want you to understand, okay, is the content doing well? So we're going to go earlier to the analytics section where we went to search appearances. You will see this analytics section in the middle. So you want to click on that to see more. Now, when you do that, you will see your top performing posts. You'll see how many impressions your posts are getting each week. And so this will be a really great section to understand which content of yours is resonating the most and which you might want to continue posting about. So I've noticed for me, a lot of the personal stories I tell about my layoff, about the LinkedIn algorithm, and like how to succeed on LinkedIn, those posts or content topics are the most popular in terms of what I share. So it's really helpful to always just check that every now and then. Now, the last thing I want to touch on is community top voices. So you may have been seeing these gold badges on LinkedIn and wondering what they are. They are a new feature. They are called community top voice badges. So I'm going to show you here the list, and I would love you to all open up your workbooks. I'm going to send you a link in the chat. So the link I just sent are all the topics that feed into this Community Top Voices badge program. Now, what this is essentially LinkedIn's way. They have all these AI generated articles and they're trying to create more content and get more conversation going on the platform. So if getting this badge is something that you are interested in, it adds a little bit credibility to your profile. You will want to comment on at least 3 different stories within a particular topic. And if you get enough traction with other people liking your posts and finding it valuable, eventually you will get the gold badge. So it takes a little bit of consistency of posting and also making sure that others find your content valuable. So it will pop up automatically in your network's feed as they see that you're commenting. So that's how you will get the engagement that way. So I sent that link through the chat. I would be curious to hear, and again, it's so great how diverse this group is. Looking at this Community Top Voices list, which is the area of expertise that you might want to contribute to? If you had to choose, I'm not saying you have to, but if you had to choose a badge that you wanted to get in a specific area, which one would be the first one that you would want to tackle? And note that you can get more than one badge. You can only show one badge at once, but you can get multiple. Nice. Communication, solution architect, engineering and management. So fun to see all the different topics. Nice. I got a few manufacturing related ones. Soft skills, developer strategy, telecommunications, data, security, art. Oh my gosh, love it. UX. Okay, excellent. Yeah, go through, so many topics. So take a closer look after the session today. And with that advice I gave you, I think it's a good chance that you can get that badge. All righty. So to recap, we talked about the LinkedIn algorithm, talked about best practices for posting, talked about newsletters, content analytics, and the Community Top Voice badge. Now, last but not least, I want to talk about connecting. We talked last time about networking, reaching out to strangers, and also recommendations. So today I want to share 2 other helpful ideas that you don't see too often. One is voice messages and one is away messages. So let's dive into voice messages. So give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Have you ever received a voice message from someone on LinkedIn before? Thumbs up or thumbs down. Have you received a voice message? Okay, I think I saw 1 thumbs up and I think everything else has been a thumbs down.
Thumbs down.
Yeah, tons of thumbs down. Okay, right. So you see, this is a very underutilized feature and you have the opportunity to really stand out by sending one. So next time you're on the mobile app, so it's only available on mobile, when someone new adds you on LinkedIn or you want to thank someone for connecting with you, experiment with this feature. It adds such a nice personal touch and can really, again, make you stand out. You will see the little microphone icon. Click it. Just a quick thank you goes such a long way. And also, I get a lot of LinkedIn messages, so sometimes like just saves you from typing, right? So it has that kind of side benefit as well. But sending a voice messages is a really nice way to kind of make the other person, if you've never met them before, feel like they know you a little bit more. And it's just another personal thing you can add in a world that is so virtual and where we can feel disconnected. So that's one thing I want you all to think about. And then the next thing, away message. This is a premium feature, but it's a really nice, subtle way to promote yourself and any offerings you might have. A lot of you added me on LinkedIn after the last session, so you might have gotten my automated away message here. But these days, when you send a message, we want everything so fast. We want responses right away. So the away message is a nice way to give a response right away. And then also, again, like you can, if some of you mentioned like you wanted to link to a website, maybe there's a resource, you just want them to learn a little bit more about you. This is a really nice feature so people can kind of click through and just learn a little bit more about you before you have a chance to respond. So you set this for 3 months at a time. You have 300 characters, which is not a ton of space, but it's enough. This is essentially 300 characters here. All right, so I want to leave time for questions. We've reached the end of this section. So quick recap, talked about voice messages and we talked about away messages. So let's go over here. I want to just, reiterate the importance of LinkedIn. I know you all understand it. You're all here for this session. I'm going to send a feedback form through, and I have a new LinkedIn gift for those who fill out the feedback form today. So super appreciate you taking the time. It was really helpful to hear from you all last time, and I was able to send all the feedback to Jackie and team. So encourage you all to do that right now. Should take you 30 seconds to a minute, helps me a lot know what I did well, what we can improve for next time. And then same as last time, we have the feedback link here. Connect with me on LinkedIn. If you want to reach out to work together, I take on some limited coaching clients, a limited number of coaching clients. You can reach out at that email. And then I think many of you are now subscribed to my weekly newsletter with bite-sized tips to supercharge your career. So you can do that here. And okay, 15 minutes for Q&A. I know that was a speedy session, but wanted to make sure you got all the content and then also leave time for questions.
Perfect.
So Jackie, I think, yeah, you've been collecting throughout.
Yes, thank you. Before we go through all this Q&A stuff, we actually have one special announcement from Carlo, one of our global CAN leaders who connected us to you. And he is providing us with 2 free LinkedIn premium accounts to give away on behalf of CAN. So please engage with the chat in order to be entered into this random raffle for a chance to win. And I will go over the questions that we have in the chat now.
That's so fun. That's great.
So a couple questions. What type of content performs best on LinkedIn for engagement? And are there any best practices for posting frequency and timing?
Okay, so first part of the question, types of content, I think it depends on your audience. So this is something you're going to want to experiment with. Again, with the polls, that's a really great way to understand what people want. So can't really say for sure there's one specific type of content. I mentioned the carousels, the cheat sheets are kind of trending on the platform right now. So that might be something to try first, but it takes a little bit more work. You need a little bit of a design eye to do that. So that's the first part of your question. The second part was around, can you remind me, Jackie?
Are there any best practices for frequency and timing of
Oh, yes.
posting?
Okay, so I would say post once a day. Try not to do it too frequent. It's not like Twitter, right, where you're just like nonstop posting. My observation is that 1 post a day will usually drive the best engagement. If you post twice, it kind of cannibalizes and on the other posts. So aim for once a day if you are trying to do a daily practice. Once every few days is also fine as well. You just don't want to post multiple times a day.
Definitely. Another question is, how long should the about section be?
So the about section will gives you 2,600 characters. So fill it up. That's what I say. Again, like it's a place that helps you become more searchable on LinkedIn. It's important to include keywords on there. It impacts search. And why not take up that space, right? This is your chance to talk about yourself and have other people learn more about you. So I try to, I mean, mine is like, I think just almost exactly to the limit. So try to fill it up as much as you can.
Does freshness play a role in content surfacing? And can we limit for legacy articles?
I think I'm understanding that question correctly. So LinkedIn will show newer posts. You can filter it, right, by like most recent or most relevant. I think it defaults to most recent. Actually, might default to most relevant. I'm not sure. Check on your LinkedIn which one it defaults to, but you can change. You can flip between the two. I'm not quite sure what you mean by legacy articles, but I think if you choose that most recent option, that should address your question and not show you, content from a while ago.
Got it. Is there a way to get metrics as to when the impressions take place?
Sorry, can you say that one more time?
Like, is there a way to get metrics for each individual post and when impressions take place?
Yeah. It doesn't say when impressions take place, but if you go to that impressions section, you will see the top posts there, and it will also show you how many impressions your posts have gained since being posted.
It was more to find out which is the best time to actually post.
Oh yeah, so that's again experimental. So what I did, for example, is like 1 week I did all posts at 8 a.m. and then I did all posts at 7 a.m. and all posts at 6 a.m. And then I looked at the analytics for each week and try to understand, okay, this week got, this amount of engagements, this week got this amount, this week got this amount. I honestly didn't actually, I'm going to post about this in a few weeks, this experiment. I didn't really notice that big of a difference. Really, like kind of what it boils down to is, are you posting quality content? Because I also posted one at 3 p.m. It was a cheat sheet talking about LinkedIn's latest algorithm updates, and that was my most popular post. It was at 3 p.m. and it was a second post of the day. So it really kind of boils down to quality content and then just experimenting with the time. I mean, I think usually morning is probably best bet, right? People are on LinkedIn in the morning. But I've also talked to people who are like, oh, I get the most traction in the evening because everyone's out of work. So it really just depends on your audience.
Yeah, and I noticed that when I'm looking at posts from other people that they may have posted it in the morning, but I get it in the afternoon, or is that correct? Yeah, okay.
It can be, yeah, depending on just the way your feed is and again, those settings.
Okay, thanks.
Speaking of cheat sheets, Diane asked, for some of us, writing isn't our strength. Do you have any tips for those folks?
I think you don't have to write a lot. Like I post carousels often, and sometimes I'll do like 1 to 2 sentences and just again that hook, right? Like some sort of engaging sentence and then just an arrow to just go down to the carousel. And the carousel doesn't have to have a lot of text either. So, and I wouldn't be, use AI to help generate ideas. You obviously want it in your own voice and you don't want it to just pull directly and not make edits to it, but that's also a good starting point as well.
We have got a ton of questions. Hopefully we have time for all of them.
I'm trying to answer them as fast as I can, yeah.
Is the content for newsletters similar to that of a post, or is there best practices for newsletter?
Can be, and it also can't be. Newsletter is usually for longer form writing, but I keep my newsletters really short. They are an extension of my email newsletter, which is, bite-sized tips. So it's quite short. So it doesn't have to be long. It can be kind of whatever you want. I've also seen people who want to promote like a blog post. So they will put the beginning part of the blog and then just say, click here to read more. So it can be whatever you want.
Where do you get pulse topics from LinkedIn, as you shared the links during the session?
Pulse topics. I think maybe that person means the news topics, I'm going to guess. So The news topics that just appears and gets updated just regularly throughout the day. The other topics I sent the community top voices, that is just like the landing page for it. So hopefully I answered that question correctly. I'm not sure 100% understood, but you can clarify in the chat if I misunderstood.
What about reposting an article you wrote that's published elsewhere in LinkedIn on your own profile? Is it better to just comment on that original article or better to repost it on your own page?
Sounds like, sorry, can you repeat the first part? Is it an article they wrote or someone else's article?
It is an article they wrote that's been published elsewhere on LinkedIn.
I think great to share the article on your LinkedIn and write a few, takeaways, tease the article so that people want to click to learn more. If you've posted an article elsewhere and want to like put it in a LinkedIn newsletter, for example, I would just check with the original publisher that they are okay with you copying that content over.
Thank you. Okay. So if anyone has any more questions, feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand. And I think we do have some time to go over it. Oh, what is the best way to begin a LinkedIn post like I am happy to share ...
I will try to avoid those kinds of sentiments unless there actually is like a really exciting thing that you're announcing, like a promotion or something. But even then, I still think you want to start with that hook. So maybe instead of I'm excited to share, you might say, I've been working to reach this new level for like 3 years and it's here. Like even just something like that is different, right? Because we see so many like I'm thrilled, I'm excited to share, humbled to announce, So any time that you can make it a little bit different and share like what is the impact? Why are you happy to share? Why are you excited? Like what's the impact it has on you? I think that will go a much longer way and just make your posts more interesting.
Another
Actually, oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Sorry. I missed this question from Christine, but Christine asked, do we need to sustain daily engagement if we are not in a position to create constant content?
Yeah, so that was a question I saw as well. So Christine, no, and it is a lot of work. So I like to say you do not feel pressured to post every day. Like this is part of my job and just like what I do. So of course I'm going to be posting very often. When I was working a full-time job, I found it quite difficult to post, 5 times a week. LinkedIn recommends 4 times a week. That's still a lot in my opinion. So I just say, what is reasonable to you? Once a month? Just start with once a month. Then maybe you can do twice a month. Then maybe once a week. I don't know. Just make it reasonable for you. The most important thing is consistency. And one other thing you might all want to try, and something that helped a lot with me. So one of the reasons I struggled in my last role was because every Sunday night I would be like, okay, I need to come up with 5 posts for the week. And it's the weekend and just like things are happening. And, I just didn't have the mind space. But planning a content calendar and then scheduling out the posts, LinkedIn does have a scheduling tool. Scheduling out the posts can help alleviate a lot of that pressure and stress to be thinking about a post like day of.
And could you share more about the difference between a top community voice and a top voice badge and how the content strategy differs for each?
Yeah, great question from Raquel. Hi, Raquel. So the difference. So top community voice badge, in theory, anyone on LinkedIn can get as long as they are posting to those articles and getting enough engagement on their content that they add. The top voice badge is one that is given by the LinkedIn news team. And you need to be publishing regularly. Again, that's like the top 1% of LinkedIn's 1 billion users. They are becoming more active in terms of like giving out more badges, but it essentially takes, consistent posting, high quality content. There's no hard and fast rule for how you can get one, but following or connecting with LinkedIn editors is not a bad idea so that they're aware of your stuff. I think contributing to those news articles is really key. Once you've contributed, you're kind of on their radar. Once you've been featured in some way, you're on their radar. So commenting on those posts that are featured in those news stories can be a nice way to just kind of build that traction and get in front of them.
A couple more questions. Emily asked, with your use of voice feature, is the response private or is it public? I believe it's private if it is a private message, but
It should all stay just within your message thread.
perfect. Christine said that she has lots of interests outside my job, which is pretty boring to those not in the industry. Would you recommend posting content on off topics?
It just depends what you want to be known for. So if you have these interests and you want people to know you for that, like who cares if it's boring to, most of the people, like you want to be speaking to, like, who's your target audience? Who are you trying to reach? If you're more generally trying to establish yourself as a thought leader in a certain space and those hobbies are kind of irrelevant, then maybe you don't, maybe you mention the hobbies in your about section, but you keep the content consistent and targeted around the kind of the brand you want to create for yourself and the audience who you want to reach.
Jason asked, is there a place to submit new features on LinkedIn? For example, I would like to be able to search posts using keywords. The search tool is not very effective.
Yeah, in theory, you should still be able to search for keywords, but it sounds like it's just an effectiveness issue. I think if you shake the mobile app, the feedback form should show up. I haven't tried it in a while, but give that a try and see if that helps.
Perfect. And then I think we have time for one more question. So Carla has a question. What is your recommended mix of topics to post about? For example, posting about our products, marketing, personal development, personal opinions, industry news, resharing existing posts, sharing job opportunities, etc.
I would say don't make it all about posting about your company because, what I'm talking about our LinkedIn presence, right? And about building your presence as a professional. So I don't want your presence to be all about the company, right? Because you're not just the company. You all do amazing other things outside of work, like in work. So I would say, I don't know, maybe like 25% company posts. Like it's good to show support for your company, right? But I would personally err on the side of just sharing more of your personal stories, personal development, etc. Industry news showing, okay, like you're someone who kind of can curate and share interesting information. And that will still help you be seen in a positive light at your company because these are the personal, genuine things that are going to have others feel connected to you and invite you maybe to do speaking events, podcasts, etc. And then it's like, oh, Carlo also, works at Cisco. So Cisco is still getting the visibility in that way. And people are also still getting to know you as a professional, as a person.
Thank you, Lorraine, for sharing your wisdom and knowledge with us. I think we all learned a lot in these past 2 sessions, and we've already gotten really good feedback from both of them. So
Thank you, everyone.
And thank you, everyone, for engaging with the chat and asking really good questions. Really appreciate it. We will be sending out the recording and then also doing that raffle. So big shout out to Carlo for giving away those 2 LinkedIn premium subscriptions as well.
So nice. We didn't even plan that. And then, Jackie, did you want to mention the next session? Next and last session?
Yes, our next session is in 2 weeks. It is about the effective video communications. And if you haven't registered yet, please register through this URL. I will send it in the chat. And if you have any further questions for Lorraine, is it okay if people from Cisco connect with you and give you feedback as well?
Yes, please do. I would love that.
Perfect. And those URLs are in the chat too.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone, for filling out the feedback form. So excited for you to continue on your LinkedIn journey and reach out, keep in touch, and hopefully I'll see you all in 2 weeks.
Thanks, Lorraine.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Lorraine.
Bye.
Thanks, Lorraine.